Nice to see you, ladies.
Hi,
Hi.
Heidi.
I'm so glad to be chatting with both of you, Lauren and Ellen. I know your work from the theater side of things here in the city, but today we're actually going to be talking about something a little bit different. Very cool, a short sort of sketch comedy series titled Content Farm. Um, Maybe you can tell me a little bit about, the seed for this series. I believe it was kind of developed during this sort of lockdown pandemic time, and we're here now talking about it. So how did it start?
Basically, about 3 years ago, we were doom scrolling as you do, and we became fixated on this idea of real content farms that produce these endless repetitions and replicas of actual content. So, like life hacks that are
Mhm.
dangerous and make no sense. And they'll take the same clip and put it in like 9 different videos. And then you look, and each of those videos has like 9 million views. And you're
Right.
wondering, how is this possible? That are humans doing
And they're
this?
producing like 7 videos a day.
Yeah, yeah.
Crazy.
And then stealing from each other
Hmm.
as well. And
Hmm.
we started thinking, okay, well, like we know people buy Instagram followers. We all know that.
Hmm.
Of
And
course.
we know that there's chat bots and they steal profile pictures. And, half the people who comment on things aren't people, they're bots. We all
Hmm.
know that, but we just it sort of fades into the background when we're actually on the internet
Hmm.
and
Right.
someone writes a horrible comment and people get angry. But wait, maybe it's not a person. Maybe it's actually not a person. And
Hmm.
so we started thinking about all this from the perspective of a content generating bot.
Hmm.
Like, if
Hmm.
you were a content generating bot, what would you learn about people on the internet, how to be a person, and how do you get engagement and make money on the internet? What do you have to do? And then it sort of took off from there.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I've seen it's a 3 episode series for those who are gonna watch it on CBC Gem. And it really is really smart. I know that I know you like to make us think. That's kind of part of what you do in your theater work, and this is no different. But you do it through humor and satire. So the idea for the bot is, I'm assuming it's like almost two people, but it's like the actual AI that we kind of get to know when it's sort of creating this content. Did you have any sort of references in mind when you're creating this sort of AI character?
I mean, I liked I it's sort of a like a shameless anthropomorphized GAN to me.
Hmm.
So you have the generating half that makes all the content, and you have the discriminating half that's like, no, no, that doesn't look like that lady's face. No, no, that syntax is wrong.
Hmm.
And then together they
Hmm.
make
Comb through
content.
the
Yeah.
internet trying to
For sure,
decide, you
for
know.
sure. And so talk about the idea of trying to, create commentary, like social commentary on what you were just saying. We're doom scrolling. We kind of inherently know there are bots kind of interacting even with our own content,
Mhm.
um, and sort of narrowing it down in a way that is sort of really smart, funny, and creating sketches from that. Because you have some really interesting sketches with people that we know from Toronto theater, which is
Of
cool.
course.
Wasn't that lovely, Heidi? Did
I
you just?
love it. I love
Oh,
it.
okay, good, 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 good.
I think for us, a big part of it was you can't annoy people like the
Mm.
internet does.
Mm,
Being careful about, like, yes, the internet is sending you 6-second garbage reels
Hmm.
all day. And there's a lot of ads, there's a lot of pop-ups,
Hmm.
there's a
mhm,
lot of fragmentation. And it took a while to think about, how do we capture that without just making it really nauseating?
Hmm.
right. Hmm.
And I think for us, in terms of how to find the humor in that, was going to places on the internet or that involve AIs, deepfakes, and so on, where there's a lot of human stakes and it's very awkward and painful, like
Hmm.
dating shows. So people are falling in love with fake
Hmm.
people. It's so exposed and cringy, and people make a huge deal of it. Or people being, that you have that ounce of reality in terms of
Hmm.
like the real small content creator being interviewed who's saying, they stole my face, my content's no good anymore.
Yeah.
Like I've lost my living to a bot, essentially.
And I think like the idea of, well, we're just getting all of this stuff. And like later you put things together like, oh, I looked at this, thing I looked at a little clip of Drew Barrymore as a 6-year-old tripping on stage. And now in my other feed, I'm getting Drew Barrymore ads about this, and Drew Barrymore. And I'm just like, okay. And I think to myself, like, well, what if we curated your feed so that, yeah, if you watch the dog, like you see ad for the dog mugs, earlier, and then you see the dogs over here, and then, they're all sort of like unfolding like this, but it's curated content so that you actually are following a story. So the fact that I see Drew Barrymore and Drew Barrymore, we're available to be on your show too. Because I know I've said her name 3 times, so I'm sure that this content
we're gonna get them
to her. That like this sort of trickling effect that we're already naturally getting through our doom scroll. What if we curated it so that you actually, hey, wait a second, let me pay attention a little bit more, because it is going somewhere. There is revelations, there are changes.
Right. So was the vision that it was going to be sort of like a digital series from the beginning, or did it evolve as you were creating content?
It for the very small original pitch, Heidi, was more akin to like internet performance art. That we were like, if we made ultra short content, sort of maybe even shorter than your average TikTok, the cross between like shorter than a TikTok but longer than an ad that you can skip. And the thought was that you make a really high quality, cinematic, funny, weird short, but you place it in a location where you'd normally find an ad or like junk content, like actual content mill or content from content. And so if you could program that in such a way that people would start to be like, wait a second, what is that? Like, I feel like this is not a series of ads. I feel like this is a maybe. Yeah. And then we're like, of course, the cost of that would be astronomical
and uncontrollable. We are not bots, so we can
put it in a fictional feed for now and see what we can do with YouTube with our auxiliary content.
Yeah, and I think that's the other fun thing that we did was we filmed all this extra B-roll. We filmed all these scenes that most of the time in movies or TV, you may have all this extra stuff, but once it's done, like you can't do anything with it. It just sits there. But now we're like, okay, we have a whole, like the post-date interviews from all of
yes, of course. I'm so invested.
Yeah, exactly. And like, Darren talks about his first experience, like falling in love with just a picture. And so we have all this auxiliary content that we can do something with because it's sort of built within these platforms. Right. So like that's very, as performance art, like, as a way to continue the stories. It's really exciting.
Nice. So if I'm hearing correctly, we have the series now available on CBC Gem for us to watch. And then the idea is that we're going to somehow see other follow-up content from there. Right. Awesome. So talk to me a little bit about sort of pitching to your fellow performers, in terms of, the skits that you had in mind, and because I'm sure it was also probably during times when people were not really working. So it was sort of a welcoming sort of situation for performers at that point.
I mean, I just have to say, like, it is, you really, you got to have people that know you and love you and trust you, because the weird things that we asked our friends to do, and they were just like, all right, that's okay, let's go. Like Graham Isidore, who we have all this great footage of him eating the ramen.
Oh yes.
Ramen cheeseburgers. And just what a good sport. Like we just greased him all up, and like just asking them to do just the weirdest stuff, and they were so game, and having this long connection through theater for them to be like super down to help us make this it was really special.
For sure. I mean, as I was saying, I'm invested in the stories now, but I also like how I had to sit with some of them, for example, even like the colleagues with the coffee mugs and the dog. And I had to sit with whether I was feeling, is it funny? Am I uncomfortable? Like, where is this going?
Yes.
And I feel like because I know your work in theater, that kind of was the point,
Yeah.
right? Have you heard? I know you had like an informal sort of opening party the other night. Have you heard from friends or family who've seen it? Some feedback about the series and any favorites?
Ooh. I mean, I think people connect easily to Love is a Blind Deepfake.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we've had some very, very strong fans of Todd.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, very,
Already developed that fandom.
yeah, exactly. Todd's a hit. Yeah.
Interesting. So there's a enough right there for you.
Yeah.
I'm really curious. Someone came up to us after the launch who they themselves were really interested in AI development and GANs and all this stuff. And they wondered sort of how the series would read to people who are less familiar with that sort of material. And so I'm really excited to talk to people who are just sort of like, AI, machine learning, I have no idea. Here's what I got from these characters.
Right.
I'm really looking forward to that.
That's true. It's an interesting point because you do have that angle of the corporate sort of person handling the company, right? At ARMS, which is sort of this AI company. And it's sort of, I like the acronym of ARMS, but, I don't want to give too much away. People should just watch the series. How did that character develop as well? Because, you needed a little bit of knowledge there for us to get that buy-in from him.
Yeah. He started very small and they were like, oh, he's got to say another sentence. And they were like, oh, still not clear. He's got to say another sentence. Bring him back again. Bring him back again.
Yeah.
We sort of had initially envisioned him as like the perfect tech bro that has like, he just has he bears no responsibility because he is not aware of the impact, positive or negative, large or small, of this pilot project. And he's giving this TED style talk, and just the sort of person that you don't really know if anything he says is true.
Interesting. So for people who want to get a bit of a taste for it, I believe you have accounts on social media. Right? So that is sort of content that is in the series, but also additional content.
Yeah. So on Instagram, we'll have all kinds of like really, really short cuts coming, like either from the show. We also are, there are like memes generated in the show, but we will also be generating our own memes. And if you'd like to submit your own memes, you're welcome to. So we'll just be sort of slowly unrolling like new takes, or again, sort of playing with the content farm idea. And then over on YouTube, there'll be like larger sort of like the extended cuts or the exclusives, or like not seen in the show, but all that fun B-roll. So we've sort of been riding a high up to getting it up and launched. But
excellent.
Like each day we'll be trying to put out some more interesting takes on all of the things that we've created.
Wow. So it's sort of expanded in its own little world online, as these things do. That is the whole point of the show when we think about it. So tell me, what else can I look forward to in the next little bit outside of Content Farm?
So right now we're working on our first animated series.
Oh wow, you are busy.
And it deals with the same subject matter as our 2019 summer work show, Safe and Sorry.
Oh yeah.
So it deals with a men's dating coach or a pickup artist who's doing his best, trying to be ethical on the internet and running into all the pitfalls that you do. in this case, it's an animated series. It's called Day Gamers. Everyone is earwigs, and it follows a woman who tries to make a documentary about these three pickup artists who are trying to revolutionize the seduction community by gaming in the daytime, the Day Gamers. And she just can't seem to get the angle of the doc right, because every 8 months another scandal happens between 2013 and 2020, and it's about sort of both the struggle to know where to put your elbow on a date and just connect with another person erotically, and the struggle to talk about gender and sexuality between 2013 and today.
Wow. Excellent.
And I will repeat, either
yes.
Yes.
Because Heidi, it wasn't weird enough to start.
It's not, of course not. You know, we need weird in life to sometimes make sense of, you know, the not so or to tackle these topics like what you were saying, you know, human communication, or just some basic skills in terms of being human, right? And that's where humor and this whole weirdness comes in.
Yeah. And I think putting always, like you've said and like you've noticed, putting that sort of like uncomfortableness beside all kinds of weird, and then making that spot where it's funny as well as challenging, and making it easier. Like sort of the more you push these odd or weird, you know, these little toupees that we put, and playing men and having earwigs and all this extra funny, that you sort of cushion the awkwardness, so
right.
that you can handle it, so that you can think about it, so that you can internally wrestle with it.
Right. I'm also wondering if, you know, this has also changed the makeup of your followers and your audience, right? Because some of us came to know you through in-person theater, and now you're expanding to more online and all that.
It's really, it was lovely to have at our launch a mix of people who have known us from, you know, all of our theater days, who have seen all of our work, and people who are just meeting us now. And for the theater followers, all the people are like, wait, what's that? Like, how can I? And it's such a sweet thing to have those people have all the reference of where we've come from to get. And it's really exciting to have a bunch of new people and to sort of share a similar journey and aesthetic that we've been bringing to theater for all these years into their living rooms and into their lives. So nice
to hear. I mean, I appreciate the fact that you're also pretty much with the times, so you're dealing with, you know, things as they're happening now, whether it's in your future animated series, but also in ways that is sort of digestible, like you were saying. You know, at least that's how I see it, because there's theater, and some of us gravitate to theater, but other people want to see their content online at, you know, at our fingertips. So the idea is to create some conversations, and I think that's sort of what's important.
For sure.
Excellent. Thank you so much both for speaking with me today. And I look forward to seeing you hopefully in a theater soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Thanks, Heidi.
Thanks.